You're tuned in to the Mind of an Entrepreneur show with your host, myself, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. I am a multi-million-dollar business developer. I have developed business and real estate around the world, and I want to share with you my mental strategies, my technical strategies, and how I made it in the world of business. So I don't teach theory. I tell you about my life and introduce you to people who can also share with you what they've done to become successful. This is a practical show. This ain't a theory show. You don't want to miss it. So stay tuned.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Welcome to the Mind of an Entrepreneur show. I'm your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. We got a powerful show planned for you this evening. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the page so that you get notifications when we go live. You'll see scrolling across the bottom a bunch of other instructions that we wish that you follow, like join our mailing list so that we can communicate outside of social media. Make sure you donate to the show, purchase your commemorative Elijah coin, but most importantly, sit back and relax and get ready to learn some things about women in business and in journalism who just happen to be Muslim women. So we'll be right back. I'm going to give you a little word from our sponsors. So sit back, stay tuned, get you some tea, and I'll see you in a few.
Enjoying precious moments with family and friends is what the holidays are all about. Taking care of your health is also important. Peripheral artery disease, also known as PAD, is a serious medical condition affecting 8.5 million American adults. If you're experiencing leg pain, leg swelling, or difficulty exercising, then you may have PAD. PAD can put you at a risk of a heart attack or stroke. If you or a loved one has any of these symptoms, call today or visit mivcmd.com for more information.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people. Yes, sir. You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself. Yes, sir. There will be a great separation. Yes, sir. So I said, it is on now.
The college is meant to prepare you for your future. That the time dictates that if we don't do something for ourselves as a people, we will be destroyed. And the aim of the enemy right now is to take us out.
We have God with us. We have Him as our guide. Yes, sir. We don't have to stand around here and ask the question, what must be done? Yes, sir. Let's go and do something. Yes, sir. We cannot sit down. We cannot lay down. Yes, sir. We must get up. Yes, sir. And go to work.
Do you know what real joy is in life? Visioning something and bringing it into reality. That's real joy. Do you know what the next step in joy is? Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity.
Tonight tonight, you need to fasten your seatbelts. We're going to hear from some of the greatest minds in the world. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of trusting our future and the future of our children into the hands of those who don't love us. I believe we need to revitalize black leadership.
You're tuned into the Mind of an Entrepreneur show, and I'm your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. I hope you all are ready to sit back and just learn. And we got a goal, and I'm going to bring my sister in for a minute, but we really just want you to feel something and have sentiment from us tonight. I see y'all in the chat. Sister Margaret Mathdi. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Margaret. Sister Cynthia. Sister Oracle. Welcome, welcome. Some of y'all always have hashtags that I can't pronounce, but and I'm pretty literate, but I don't know what y'all be calling yourselves. Anyway, my sister that I'm bringing on today, she is a phenomenal woman, a phenomenal Muslim, a phenomenal sister, someone whose actions are so quiet but firm and strong. And this sister is the managing editor of the best newspaper in the world, published by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Sister Starla Muhammad. So I want you all to learn. She touched my spirit when I saw her the other day on the Munir Muhammad show. And I just looked at how much certainty she's giving to women around the world. And I just wanted to introduce her to you all on this platform so that you send prayers and love and just good energy her way as she's doing her job as the managing editor. So welcome, Sister Starla. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Sister Sajdah. Is wonderful, and I'm so honored and humbled by your beautiful, beautiful words. They touched me deeply. I was trying not to, start shedding a few tears of my own, but
I'm always an ugly cry. I was an ugly cry. That's why my face looked like this right before the show. So join the crew.
But the admiration is certainly mutual, my sister. You are doing wonderful and powerful works, and it's just a testament to our teacher.
That's exactly right, sis. I mentioned that I was in ugly cry because as I was just kind of preparing for the show, I just took a moment to thank Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and for his consistency. Yeah. He's so necessary. His presence is inevitable in this world today. And I think sometimes we get lost in pop culture that dismisses people after a certain age, or if we don't see them in certain capacities. But there are people certainly who admire myself, admire you, and I never hesitate to let them know whose student I am. And so for you, as managing editor of this beautiful newspaper that he started,
yes,
in his basement, with his family, typing on a typewriter, and the sacrifices that he's made. Talk to me a little bit about how grateful you are for him.
Words, I don't think there are enough words in the English vocabulary to describe what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan means to me personally. Sister Sajdah, to be in this position, to be able to be just a helper. And since I came into the Nation of Islam back in 1995, my desire has just always been just to help in whatever capacity that may be. And I've had the opportunity in various cities that I've lived in to be able to help. And as they say, get in where you fit in and just propagate the faith. And so the minister and what he means personally, he's done so many phenomenal messages strictly where he is speaking to women. And one of the things that he said in a message that always resonated with me is he said, you know, who are you, Black woman? Do you really know how valued you are in the sight of your creator? And I think for me, Sister Sajdah, just there is no, in my humble opinion, more of a champion for Black women and really women in general across the planet than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And of course, he got that from his teacher, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I think for me, my journey in Islam, I'm beginning to appreciate more and more and learn more and more about my potential, about my own God-given abilities, and really just trying to do what I can to help mine that out of me, and understand that I'm a work in progress. But I am so honored and humbled with this blessed opportunity to be able to labor in a cause that I love, and that is, of course, laboring with the Final Call newspaper. You know, prior to the show, I was telling you, you know, every day I really wake up and pinch myself because I am truly, truly blessed to be able to do something that I love and to try to make a contribution to this mission.
You are doing God's work, and to speak again on the minister, just the opportunities that he gives us as women in a culture that really doesn't give us these types of opportunities. And then the guidance he gives, it's not women guidance, it's not male guidance, it's not gender driven, it's God guidance, like really guiding us to developing into God and putting us on that track of being able to say, I am a God and I am developing into a God. Queen is cute, but I'm a God. And so that's how he treats us. And I would say to anybody who just doesn't know him, because sometimes we forget because we've been following him through the volume of the book for our adult journeys, right? But a lot of people don't know him. He is a true friend. He's a true friend. Yes. A true friend. So as we go on and we talk about you and your wonderful work, I want you to give people a little background, Sister Starla, because I learned something about you today. You said that you're shy.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to unpack that a little bit, but I first want people to know, who is Sister Starla? Where'd you come from, girl, with all this power and beauty and intellect?
All praise is due to Allah. Thank you, Sister Sajdah.
Who's your mama? Who's your daddy? Look, who did Allah bless to bring you into this world?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I am from Ohio, so I am a Buckeye. I was actually born in Ashland, but for the majority of my life, starting at the age of 2, was raised in Columbus, Ohio, the same city as our beautiful Star of God, Sister Minister Ava Muhammad. May Allah forever.
About us Midwestern girl, right? I'm a Cornhusker, so I get
okay. And my sister, my older sister, was born in Nebraska. Was born in Omaha, Nebraska, and so grew up. Beautiful parents. My mom was a school teacher for many, many years, and praise be to Allah, this year she just turned 85. My father returned to Allah a few years ago, but both of them, had a tremendous impact in my upbringing, even though they were divorced when I was young, but had a good relationship with both of my parents. My mother is still my biggest cheerleader, my confidant, gives me sage words of wisdom and advice. But, growing up, English and language arts in school was always one of my favorite subjects. Always loved to write. But when it was time for me to go to college, Sister Sajdah, journalism was the farthest thing from my mind. I actually enrolled in the Ohio State University and decided that I was going to major in accounting. Now, this coming from someone where math was not my strongest subject, so I don't know what I was really thinking, but it actually just took me a few years. I almost ended up dropping out of school because the transition to me from high school to college was a little bit of a bumpy ride, because I soon realized the study habits that I had in high school did not translate to college. And of course, there's other distractions that come along with going to college, even though I went to school in the same city that I was raised. But anyway, fast forward ahead, I really did not decide until my junior year to delve into journalism. But even then, I did not foresee that I was going to be a reporter or go into any sort of broadcast journalism. I actually wanted to originally go into advertising. I was going to be an advertising executive and wear the power suits with the big shoulder pads like Joan Collins and Dynasty.
So wait, so you went from, you majored in accounting and
for
then
a hot minute.
For a hot minute. Okay, got it. And then you switched.
Exactly. So graduated. I was on the 5-year plan. I admit it. It took me an extra year to get out, and took me a while to find my way. I worked in different jobs for a while, and it wasn't until Sister Wendy actually embraced Islam and became a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in Columbus, Ohio, Mosque number 43.
Okay.
Ended up relocating to Phoenix, Arizona, Mosque number 32. And it was actually there, so this is years later, that the writing bug kind of hit me, and I had an opportunity to start submitting a few articles here and there to the Final Call. I remember when my first one was published, which I believe was in '96, on our dear brother Abdullah Muhammad. And it was actually still in Columbus when he came, wrote an article. And when I saw that it appeared in the Final Call, Sister Sajdah, I was on cloud 9.
I know.
And I was so humble and was so honored. I was like, wow. I mean, you have, all sorts of publications that are quote unquote prestigious, but to me, there's the cream of the crop is the Final Call. And so to be published in that newspaper was so humbling. Fast forward ahead, I'm in Phoenix, again, not writing every once in a while. And then our brother Abdul Qiyam Muhammad, formerly Brother Jesse, he came out to Phoenix one day and he had seen that I had written a few articles, and he said, well, have you considered writing more and just continuing to submit more and more articles? And it hadn't really dawned on me that this is something that I could do for a living. But that's how it really started. And I've had so many cheerleaders, Sister Sajdah, along the way. And I think that's the important thing. I've never felt that I was alone in my journey in Islam. I've always had brothers and sisters who have been my cheerleaders, who have given me advice, who have encouraged me, who have loved me, who have corrected me along my journey. And so when the opportunity came and I decided that I wanted to relocate from Phoenix, I decided Chicago. I said, well, let's try headquarters.
Yeah.
And arrived in Chicago. I have to thank Brother Abdul Rasul and Brother Naba, of course, Brother Abdul Rasul, Final Call General Manager, and Brother Naba, our Editor-in-Chief, for taking a chance on me when I came into the city and I just wanted to help. So I began volunteering at the paper, learned a lot about journalism from Brother Naba and from the other writers that I had an opportunity to learn from and to experience. And we would be on conference calls, and I didn't say much in the beginning. I'm just taking my little notes. And, finally, Brother Naba, I thought, Sister Sajdah, that I was going to come and I'm going to just write on different events in the community. That was going to be my beat. I was going to be the feature reporter. So I thought, until one day Brother Naba said, well, no, you need to start writing this is a newspaper, and features, of course, are a part of that, but we need some actually news stories. What's happening that's impacting and is of concern and critical to our community in particular. So, he threw me in the water. He had the life preserver, though. He didn't leave me struggling. And
that's Nation style right there, right?
Exactly. But he walked me through. I would send in an article. He would sometimes send it back. All these, this needs to be corrected. This is wrong. You need to check this. You need to call this person. So every time I would get an article back, I said, okay, when I send it, it's going to come back with fewer mistakes. And that was always my mindset, that to look to see areas that I needed to improve in, take that advice, from Brother Naba and from other writers, and just try to continue just to be better and better. And had the opportunity to eventually become a staff writer, from a staff writer, an assistant editor, and then by Allah's grace and mercy, Brother Naba appointed me managing editor. So like I always tell him, I say I'm his right hand, I'm his lieutenant. He's the editor in chief, and whatever he needs me to do to facilitate getting this paper out to our people each and every week, that's what I do.
You spoke about a level of excellence that is interesting, right? Because when somebody sets the bar really high for you, and you're striving, like you said, to make sure things come back with less and less errors or less and less comments and things like that. But when you speak about that level of excellence, it speaks to the accuracy in the paper.
Yes, ma'am.
The intrigue of the articles, the validity of the articles, the relevancy of the articles. That's what I'm hearing you talk about. And when I'm listening to your journey, and you just wanted to help, and you just submitted to whatever it was time to do.
Exactly.
And you just kept growing. And I think that that's a beautiful lesson for those of us who are listening and looking to matriculate into a level that you're at and beyond.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly. And I think when you find your passion,
yes,
then whatever you need to do to learn and grow and be better, that's what you're willing to do. You're willing to take the correction. There were times, Sister Sajdah, particularly before I even moved to Chicago, when I was still, I would send in articles, and sometimes, they would get published, but sometimes they didn't get published. And so for the ones that didn't get published, I wasn't angry. I wasn't, bitter. I wasn't even frustrated. I said, okay, well, the next one I'm going to submit, inshallah, will be published. I need to find out maybe why it didn't get published. Is there something that, in terms of the way I wrote, was it the subject matter? And so I think that's one of the things as well, is, asking questions, finding out, the whys, because that's how you get better. It really is. I would often kind of laugh when I would have conversations with Brother Naba. I said, I want to get to a point where I send you an article and you don't even have to put a correction in, like, oh, she missed a comma here. Because every time he would edit one of my articles, I would literally, Sister Sajdah, I would look at what I sent him versus what he edited and what appeared in the paper. And I would go line by line to see, okay, what did he edit? Okay, he moved this paragraph up a little bit, so that must be important, because I was bound and determined, I'm going to send an article one day where he's like, it's good, it didn't need any corrections. And I often tease him. I said, when I get feedback from him, I would get, it was okay or not bad. So I know when I got a good, that meant, getting that feedback from him. But it's all about, even in the capacity that I'm fortunate to labor in now, it's about trying to get a little bit better every week, being humbled, taking critique, taking, criticism, but not dwelling on that, looking at the truth that's in there, and okay, let's try to do something a little different, a little bit better next time. But I thank Allah for my journey, and I thank Allah for those along the way who have helped guide me, particularly the top of the list is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I've learned more from him when it comes to the importance of the mission of the final call and our job as those who disseminate the information to our people. every week it is a battle. We're battling for the hearts and minds of our people. And so each and every week, I strive to keep that in mind, as we attack these topics that are so crucial and important to our community.
Sis, I said this to you when we were off air. When Senator Barack Obama became president, and as he matriculated through his years in office, a lot of people criticized him and said he didn't do nothing for Black people and he didn't do this or that. And I didn't always say it verbally, but I always took exception to that because just his presence there,
yes, ma'am,
and him being there, I noticed a difference for myself as a businesswoman during that time. And I felt like his presence gave me a certain level of certainty. And I've done a lot of things to work to just try to make sure I have my certainty, because certainty is a vibration that is very fertile.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I felt like he gave me a fertile vibration just by being there and getting there and showing his very normal Black family on television. So that meant the world to me, whether he did something specifically that I could name or not. And so when I see what you're doing, and I see you sitting here, and you're the managing editor of the Final Call newspaper, I think about that. And I think about, it reminds me of that. It reminds me of other women looking at you and being able to gain their certainty or gain some certainty from looking at you and where you sit and how you hold that position. So I have to thank you for being there and doing what it is that you do. And some people are saying, why she keeps saying that? I say that because unlike you, a lot of times most of the time I was thrust into positions where I was the only woman, the only Black person. And in 1998, when I became Muhammad, I was obviously most times the only Muhammad. And so it was just a matter of navigating and not really seeing anybody really outside of Sister Ava working in a professional capacity publicly.
Right.
And so it just means something to me when I see you, and I pray that it means something to other women. I wanted to ask you a question. You made me think of something, because I said a lot of people probably don't know this. What is the mission of the Final Call newspaper?
Yes, ma'am. Well, the mission is quite simple, and the mission, every week when the new edition comes out, on page 2 in the masthead, which is at the bottom, there's a bold statement that says, a message dedicated to the resurrection of the Black man and woman of America and the world. And I had the blessed opportunity recently, Sister Sajdah, to speak with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on a Monday as we were going over the paper. And I'm always, when I'm blessed to hear from our teacher, I'm always, I've got my pen and my notebook out because class is in session.
Yes.
And one of the things that he stressed to me is that part of the mission of the paper is, he said, it's a newspaper. So of course we need to know, in cities around the country and in places around the world, what is impacting our people? What are the key and critical issues? But not just the basic who, what, when, where, but why, and look at the why through the lens of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and of course, what our minister has been teaching us for the past 40 plus years, absent his teacher, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So that is the mission. And the Final Call is an institution, like you mentioned, to start from the humble beginnings in 1979 in the home of the minister when it was just him and his family. And 40 years later, for a newspaper, because newspapers, as we've seen over the past few years, many of them, particularly some of the Black newspapers, have gone by the wayside.
That's right.
But the fact that over 40 years later, the final call is, to me, more relevant now than ever. But each and every week, like I mentioned, we are in a battle for the hearts, minds, and souls of our people. So it is incumbent upon, us to be those truth traffickers, to not cover topics like the corporate mainstream media.
Yes.
To get to, the minister always says, dig deeper, get to the root of what is happening and why it is happening, and get the answers, and to continue digging. So don't let stories just fall by the wayside. Follow up, what's new, what's happening, so that our people can begin to become more enlightened, more informed as to what is happening, why our communities seemingly are continuing to be in the same condition year after year, decade after decade, what is happening and why it's happening. And it all points back to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and what he has given us, and most certainly the wisdom and the teachings that the minister continues to share with us each and every issue. So for those who may say, well, we don't hear from Minister Farrakhan, what's happening? What is he doing? Every week you hear from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan through the 40 pages of the Final Call newspaper, particularly the article that is on page 19 by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad each and every week, and the center article by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Sis, that's great wisdom that the minister is giving us, because not only is that, let me say it this way. I like to look at how things are done because it helps me to think about how to think. So I look for systems and processes and patterns in things. So when I hear you say that the minister is saying, go to the root, understand what is happening, and not just who, what, where, why, and when, but go deeper, go to the root and look at it through the lens of our teachings. And that really is a way in which we should be living our lives.
Yes, ma'am.
Going deeper, going to the root, and using our teachings as the lens, as the foundation for the way in which we think, the way in which we move, the way in which we respond and understand what is really happening out here in the world. It gives us that foundation and that standard. Because if you don't have a foundation and that standard, these people out here who are spending millions and billions of dollars every single day to control our minds will sweep us up, and they'll have us. They'll own us.
Yes, ma'am. And another thing, Sister Sajdah, is, also at the root is we have to have a love for our people as well. Yes. So, sometimes, particularly in journalism, in the news, it can be daunting. It can be, there's a pressure, particularly sometimes when we're covering stories that are not so pleasant, whether it is the injustice that continues to impact our people, whether it's, the police killing of our people, or whether it is the fratricidal violence that we inflict on one another. And with the writers, we have the blessed opportunity. We usually have a Zoom with the various staff writers and contributing writers each week. And I know during one session, we had a talk because sometimes we're human beings, so we feel and we hurt. So sometimes when we're covering these topics, man, it hurts.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I share with them, that Brother Naba shares with me, is take that emotion. So if it's anger, if it's hurt, whatever it is, and then you channel that into your writing. Because if you channel that into the telling of this story, where of course we stick to the truth and the facts as we know it, but you weave in there those personal interest stories, the emotion of family members, friends, and community. You weave that in there, then your hurt, that anger, that sadness that you may be feeling as a writer, because you're a human being. I'm a mother, so writing an article about a 13-year-old who was shot and killed, that pains me as a mama of a son. But if we can focus and channel that emotion, that energy into our writing, then God willing, inshallah, then the readers who are then reading that, they're going to feel it as well. And wow, this is important. I do need to pay more attention to what's happening in my community. And okay, I see here, I may not be Muslim, but I see in this article, they're talking about what Farrakhan said, make our communities a safe and decent place to live. Let me go back to my church, or let me go back to my organization and maybe see what we can do to help the situation. And so that's what it's all about as well.
Yeah, because we're out here in a world of sound bites.
Yes, ma'am.
You have news that's on now 24 hours a day, and there's only so many ways in which you can tell a story before you start distorting the truth.
Exactly.
So smart people understand that the final call is a standard bearer of truth.
Yes,
there's
ma'am.
instructions there. There's guidance on how to live your life. And it's just really something that people should be diving into, because it's not a newspaper that's trying to brainwash you or influence you. It's not being written on a 4th grade level so that you have to dumb yourself down. It's a situation where with the final call, I remember when I first came in the nation, we get the final call and study it almost like it's a study guide. You know, I remember sometimes I'd be behind a couple issues and like, okay, I got 2 final calls to study. And I just think it's important. It's important guidance.
Right. And I always, would implore people who may not be familiar with the Final Call newspaper is, pick it up. No one is saying you won't necessarily read every article, but there's really, I could honestly say there's something in there for everybody.
Yes.
So if you're someone who maybe is on the go, you don't have maybe time to read an article that's maybe 1,000 or 1,500 words, guess what? Flip to page 28. There's an article called How to Eat to Live, which is from How to Eat to Live by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Many times those particular articles are short and to the point. So if you want to learn about health, nutrition, what can I do to eat better, go to page 28. If you want some more spiritual food, then on page, of course, 26, we've got Farrakhan the Traveler by Brother Jabril. On page 27, we've got Unveiling the Number 19 by Mother Tynetta. So there's something in there, for everybody. If you're into, what's happening in Africa or what's happening to Black folks in Europe, because yes, we are all over the planet Earth. So we strive mightily in each and every edition to also include articles about what's happening in the diaspora. What immediately, of course, comes to mind is, of course, the front of the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, where the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you had the brother from America grasping hands with the brother from Africa. So it is important not only that we include what's happening in the United States, but we're not just a small community. We are a world. So we try to include international news as well that our readers can learn something from.
So sis, oftentimes when I listen to a lot of different podcasts and just to kind of keep up, and I see a lot of people talking about our plight as a people, but the way it fits into the scriptures or a religious context, a lot of people leave out. And when I think about the Final Call newspaper, it's such a perfect blend of taking modern times or current affairs,
right,
and tying it into what that means for us spiritually.
Exactly.
And then giving us instructions or guidance just through our study and comprehension of the articles on how we should live our lives, even down to the name of the newspaper. And some people may be saying, why is it called the Final Call newspaper?
Yes, ma'am. And, I love when the minister shares the history and his talks with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he has shared on several occasions that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him that if he could choose any instrument to represent him, it would be the trumpet. And so the minister, when he started the final call, he took that trumpet, and it's in the upper left-hand corner of every newspaper, because it is the final call. The final call doesn't last forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's incumbent upon us that hear that trumpet. What are we going to do when we hear that trumpet? Are we going to, sit back and, oh, let's see what the minister is going to do? Or are we going to, as it says in the scripture, pick up our own cross? But, each and every week, Sister Sajdah, we have a small but mighty dedicated team of brothers and sisters who we strive to put this paper together and get it out to our people. And it's just, like I said, it's an honor, it's a privilege each and every week to be able to be part of, something that is history. And I don't take it for granted. I don't take it for granted.
That's a beautiful thing. Let's switch gears and talk about the women.
Yes.
And there's the wonderful edition where you all cover the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum. On the cover of that, we're talking about Black women being abducted. And I decided that I was going to start shedding some light on this and make it, and it has become a new passion of mine, because we have, sis, a sexual subculture in our community that's like the elephant in the room.
Yes, ma'am.
That we don't address. We just kind of dip around it. And if a Black woman gets kidnapped by somebody white, then we jump up and we want to go off and march and beat them up and burn them at the stake. But there's something happening to Black women in our community that the final call has been covering.
Yes.
But I want to just put some voice on it, some additional vibration on it, because nobody's really talking about it.
Right.
When I was living in DC, it was literally like every other day a Black girl came up missing. Of course, the final call covered that. Here in Chicago, but around the world, Black women are being abducted and something's happening, but no one is saying, well, what is really happening? And I've always thought that our sexual subculture in our community was part of the problem that we needed to begin to address. And so I just want you to speak on that. What's happening with our sisters, what you know, what you can talk about, and what light we can shed on that issue today.
Yes, ma'am. If I may, Sister Sajdah, I pulled up a brief quote by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan from a message where he states, "How advanced can this world be if the leaders of the world have denigrated the position of woman? And if so-called primitive societies have not elevated the woman, then the nations of the world are depressed, oppressed, and suppressed. And the greatest of oppression and suppression is the kind fomented by ignorance." And I think that speaks into, what you were saying about this, this subculture. And it's something that we have to speak about. And it's one of those topics and subjects that are really near and dear to the minister's heart. We had started, and we've done this for years, but we feature the accomplishments, of course, of Black women, which are many, but we also know that the abuse of the female is real. And so a few issues ago, late last year, we had run a story. It was really a short story about a case out of Chicago where this young sister just disappeared. She was pregnant and just simply disappeared. The minister, as we were going through the paper, stopped at that page and started asking questions. What have we been able to find out? What are the police saying? Have we had an opportunity to speak with her mother? It pains him. Yeah. And to hear that pain in his voice, you can't help.
Yeah, I can feel it as you're saying it. Yes.
And so we've made a commitment that anything impacting Black women in our community, particularly when it comes to the abuse, the misuse, the rape of our women and girls, is a topic that, as long as it's continuing to happen, we're going to continue as the final call to investigate it, to continue to sound the alarm about it until we get to a point, Sister Sajdah, where it's a relic of the past and it doesn't happen anymore. But it is such a critical and important topic. And we as women, we as Black women, can't be the only ones sounding the alarm. It's going to have to, our brothers are going to have to step up. It's going to take a community effort. It's going to take, checking one another when that is necessary. Mm-hmm. And not, well, that's my boy, that's my homie, so I'm not going to say anything. Even when I hear him, maybe he doesn't physically do something, but verbally is maybe abusive. But these are the topics that, as unpleasant as they may be, and they are unpleasant, we don't relish having to write on this topic, but it's necessary.
It is necessary because it's so bad that now you have women abusing women.
Yes,
Black women abusing other Black women. Of course, you have men who abuse Black women. And now when you start to see where they're even changing the definition of a woman. So if the woman in general is being degraded, what do we think is happening to the Black woman? And I'm just grateful that the final call covers the story. And I think we all have to start doing our part to talk about it more, to shed more light on it. And so that's why I wanted to talk about it today. And I also believe that it's important that women see more of us out and around. Yes, you mentioned the article or the column that unveiling the number 19 that Mother Tynetta has had for years. That's an example. Yeah. I think sometimes what happens to us as women is we start to accept substandard behavior from men and women, whether it's watching women fighting on television over something stupid, throwing drinks in the face, or whether it's people who just adopt an abusive lifestyle, with men. And I just think that more examples, the more and more examples, people like yourself, people like myself, the Mother Tynettas, the Sister Avas, may Allah be pleased with them, are pushed, that are out in front, and more of us that are professional. It's one of the reasons why I started doing the series on Black Muslim businesses, because not only did I want to see examples of us to give us some courage and certainty and create that unity, but I've been really specifically looking for us as sisters that are in business so that we can begin to form that coalition and maybe be some type of refuge for sisters who are out here, who are in danger.
Exactly. And it's so important that to visually be able to see that representation, because I, like you, to me, I don't get awed by so-called celebrities. I get awed, like, the first time I saw Mother Tynetta in person, the first time I saw Minister Ava in person, and what, Minister Ava gave me the greetings, or when I see, our national MGT captain, Sister Naima, when I see you, when I see sisters who are attorneys or school teachers, or just, as we say, just doing their thing. And we've got so many dynamic Black Muslim women who are doing some really powerful things. And it's beautiful to see when you see a sister who has found her passion, found her voice, and stepping out and expressing herself. And I have to once again thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Sister Sajdah, in 2013, when the minister was beginning his lecture series, The Time and What Must Be Done. If you remember, January 1st, 2013, to kick off that lecture series, he recorded a New Year's Day roundtable discussion.
Right.
And it was the minister, Brother Naba, former Final Call assistant editor, Brother Ashad Muhammad, and myself.
I literally just looked at that the other day.
And it's so humbling when I recount how that came about, how I ended up in the roundtable.
That's the first time I seen you.
Really?
Yeah, so, that's where I met you virtually.
Okay, so I don't think I had been an assistant editor that long. Now, previously, I had been blessed, I think maybe the year prior, to do my very first telephone interview with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And so, speaking with him over the phone, your knees are still knocking, sweating, heart palpitations, So when it was announced that the minister was going to do a sit-down roundtable with, Brother Naba and, Brother Ashad, I wasn't, in the planning at all. So Brother Naba, I think it was, came to me and said, yeah, the minister, we were talking about, who he was asking, who's going to be asking the questions, who's going to be interviewing him. And so Brother Naba was like, Brother Minister, to be myself, and it'll be Brother Ashad, and then Brother Askia, may Allah be pleased with him, our mighty Brother Askia, senior editor of the Final Call, former editor of Muhammad Speaks newspaper, was going to also submit some questions. So Brother Naba said, and the minister said, well, what about Sister Starla? That floored me, because I'm like, I don't even know that the minister, little old me, I'm always, and you're probably the same way, even when you're blessed to be in the same space physically with him,
you shrink.
I want to get behind, like, let me stand in the back, in the corner, And
he called your name. And I'm going to give you a quote that my mother said to me. She said, it's one thing to know Jesus. It's another thing for Jesus to know your name.
Ooh-wee. So Sister Sajdah, that's how I ended up, January 1st, 2013, in my brown garment, sitting at the table, praying and hoping that I wasn't looking, as scared as I was. But the fact that the minister sees the value in what we as Black women can offer and bring to the table, that sometimes, not necessarily even on purpose by others, sometimes it goes, unnoticed, but he notices. He notices.
He does. He's always casting out those demons. Sister Starla, you just, I'm so full. I'm just letting you talk because I'm so full today. I could preach a lecture, so I'm just going to be quiet. But I just want to give you any last words that you want to say. We are coming up on an hour. This time flew past.
It sure did. Yes, ma'am.
Right. I enjoy talking to you. I'm looking forward to talking to you on Closing the Gap.
Yes.
And I'm grateful for you. I'm honored to be in this mission with the likes of someone like yourself. And I pray that Allah blesses you and that he covers you with his spirit, that he takes care of you and your family, and just allows you, and that you allow him to just continue to use you. And so all the energy that I have in me right now, I send it to you, and I'm grateful for you. And I want to give you some virtual flowers right now and say thank you and give you an opportunity to say any last few words that you'd like to say.
Well, again, Sister Sajdah, thank you. I'm deeply, honored and humbled. I am an admirer of you and the work that you do and the poise in which you carry yourself, and the humility. But with that humility, the strength, the quiet strength that you exude. So I thank Allah for you. And you're such a role model to myself and to the sisters. You really, really are. I want to thank your viewing and listening audience. And look, each and every day, I just strive to take Sister Starla like out of the equation. I don't mean that in a way that I'm negating myself, but just trying to, I want to look through the lens of Allah, God, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the minister, and how I function in this particular capacity. And so, I thank those who have helped me along the way. I do, if you don't mind, my cousin is tuning in, Donna Rice.
I see
my big cousin. So thank you for tuning in, cuz. Love you. I see Sister Lisa R. Muhammad, who's another phenomenal sister out of Chicago. Was my son's teacher at Muhammad University of Islam and does so much in the community. She's another role model as well. And so, I'm just about just trying to do the work. And that's all I've ever done. I often said, look, when the time comes to pass the mantle and pass the torch, I'm going to do it willingly, because I'm excited to see the younger generation of young Muslim women and girls coming up behind me, that I can pass the torch to. But I'm just a deeply honored and humbled. Look forward to, inshallah, in a couple of weeks, having you on with us on Closing the Gap.
I'm excited.
As our guest, I know we're excited as well. And just thank you for this opportunity. And of course, I thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Thank, of course, Brother Abdul Rasul.
Yes.
And of course, Brother Naba Muhammad. And I thank you, my dear sister. Love you. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
And thank you to all the staff at the Final Call newspaper for everything that they do to push the mission, to push the paper, to make it the number one newspaper in the world. And all the past editors, just thank you. Stand on big shoulders.
Most
and I'm just grateful, just grateful. And I always pray for the brothers who are going out selling the paper, because they're walking into danger, just trying to propagate the truth.
Exactly.
And so I ask that everybody keep them in their prayers and keep you all, because you're telling the truth and you're doing a big work.
Yes.
And that's not easy in this world that we live in. So thank you again, sis.
Thank you. And there's no place I would rather be in this time than to be a helper in this mission.
Yes. All praises due to Allah. Thank you, sis.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. That's another one in the books. Thank you all for being so lively in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really, really appreciate you all. Somebody said, thank you for this platform. All praises due to Allah. Thank you. That was Sister Cynthia. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for paying attention. And thank you for honoring our lovely guest today, Sister Starla Muhammad. Thank you to all of you all who have been listening and have decided to go and get your commemorative Elijah coin. I thank you all for your support, and I ask that you continue to support. Remember, it's a big project, and we gotta, we're close. Most of the heavy lifting has been done, but we need you all to go out. I see some more people. I'm going to acknowledge y'all in the chat, but I'm just want to remind us, and I'm going to show a quick commercial at the end here. Remind us to go out and support the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum. With this house museum, you will get an opportunity to experience the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm calling it the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Experience for a reason, because it's a living museum. It's a living representation of a living God. That's really what it is. And so when you come there, when you come to the house, you feel the energy. You feel him. And you feel all the history that's there. It's the single most important piece of property in modern day Black history. And that's the honest to God's truth. That's not propaganda. That's not marketing. The reason why it's the single most important in history is because of the number of people that have graced the floors of that sacred space. So scrolling across the bottom here is just information on how you can donate, how you can become a part. Get your commemorative Elijah coin pendant before they are all gone. You can also get this graded pendant, which has an individual barcode on the back with a unique number. This is from the grading. And they're actually the same coin. Some of you have asked me, is this the same coin? Yes, it's the same coin. One is just encased in this permanent casing, and the other one's a pendant, but they're both made of the copper from the messenger's home and have been smelted down at 1,983 degrees Fahrenheit as a way to preserve this piece of material and to represent a symbol of this great man that we love so much. So with that, you all, thank you. Let's see who's all here. Sister Lisa R. Muhammad, thank you. Thank you, Sister Gia's Love. Thank you, Sandra D. Says, thank you, sisters, for leadership, sacrifice, inspiration, and love. Praise be to Allah. Thank you, Sister Cynthia. Thank you, Sister Iwana, Sister Donna, Sister Starla's cousin. Let's see who we got here. We got a lot of sisters on today. This is beautiful. I usually have all brothers on here, but the sisters turned out today. Well, we got Brother Juan Carlos. He's here. Sister Gia, Sister Alita, Sister Margaret, Sister Oracle. Thank you. Thank you all, each and every one of you all, for coming and being a part of this. So if you don't have your commemorative Elijah coin, make sure you go out and get it. Couple instructions going on here. Add us to your Roku TV lineup, add the Mind of an Entrepreneur show. Or if you like, look, I can't really get a coin right now, you can always make a quick donation to the platform via Cash App, which is going across the screen. So, all right, don't hang up. Don't hang up on my commercials because I think you'll enjoy these. All right, we'll see you Saturday, inshallah, for the Sajdah Saturday morning coffee talk. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Sajdah House or at Mode Today Universe, or on Twitter or on Facebook, and join the mailing list.
This is Sister Sajdah Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajdah House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. As we renovate and restore the former home of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, we have recycled the old copper gutters and downspouts and created a 1 ounce 39 millimeter coin made of 100% pure copper. Each coin is professionally graded and has its own barcode and registration number. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahhouse.com.